All right, everyone. So this next part of the lab 4.3 Guess Who is actually pretty long. So like many of my earlier videos, I'm just going to kind of walk through what I've already set up. As you can see on my screen, there is quite a bit to this lab. So I didn't want to spend too much time kind of building that so you could actually get a better explanation. But so the first part of the second part of this lab is it's called I'm Looking For. And the first part says, write a script that says every other name in a list, one at a time when the space bar is pressed. Use the same name of list from above. For example, if the list is Eric, Sally, Michael, John, or somebody, Michelle, John, Sam, and Caleb, they would only say every other. So as you can see, that is the space bar. So I have that right here in the upper left. I still have the characters exactly the same. But here, what I'm doing is I'm saying for I equals 1, the length of characters. So I'm iterating through it just normally, just like I did before. I'm basically going to test I. So I, again, is our iterating number, right? So I goes to 1, the first iteration. It turns into 2, the second iteration. It goes into 3, the third iteration. Each time it goes through, I basically want to check, is the remainder of I divided by 2 equal to 0? If it is, we say hello to that character for 2 seconds. So you can see I press space, and there it goes, every other character. The next part is we want to basically say the names in reverse order. So here it's pretty simple. I'm basically going to change my iterating number. So I'm saying instead of I 1 to something, I'm going I length of characters to 1. So this tells my for loop, hey, I want to start I at the maximum value and want to count down towards 1. So here I would start at 6, and then I would just simply go in reverse. So you can see it starts at Mr. Dooku, goes to Ms. Tano, and just kind of iterates through that list backwards, right? The next part of I'm Looking For, number 3, says write scripts so that when each of the following keys are pressed, a corresponding subset of names is listed. From the list is said one at a time. So basically, I set that up here. You have the number 1 key right here, which takes from I to the length of characters, and it says if the length item I of characters is greater than 10. So if the length of each of these words here is greater than 10, I'm going to say it. So if I press this, you can see it says only Mr. Skywalker and Miss Amidala, because those are the only 2 words I have that are greater than 10 characters. The next one, we go ahead and start with the letter C, and I use this right here. So if a letter 1 of word equals C, we would say it. Now, of course, for mine, this wouldn't say anything. The only thing I really set it up for is M, which would work for everything. But let's say I take out Miss Tano, and I just say Tano. If I change C to T, and if I don't put in the wrong character, you can see there, it basically will say only the characters that start with T. And it appears not to be working. So we'll come back to that in just a minute, but the rest of it is we want to see if it ends with the letter Y. As you can see, I've set that up as well. If letter last of word, oh, that's why it's not doing it, because I forgot to actually tell it what to check. So if I duplicate this here, you can see it only says hello Tano, and right here it would only say anything that ends with the letter Y. Since I don't have anything, I'm going to instead use U, do a lowercase u because that's what it wants to check for, and it'll go. For these, something that I didn't add for these 2 right here for number 2 and number 3 is you would want to check in a realistic setting if the word is either uppercase or lowercase. In that case, you would just have an extra condition, and you would check for both U lowercase and U uppercase. And then finally, are not the first 2 or last 2 names in the list. There's a few more ways you could do this. So I decided to do it in the for loop, but you could have set a condition that would check which item you're iterating through or which I you're on. So here, since I know that I start with 1 and 2, if I want to start and skip the first 2, I just go straight to number 3 to begin with. And then if I want to go only to the last part of the list, or to the first, if I only want to go until right before the last 2 items, I say length of characters minus 2 is kind of my final step. Another thing you could do is you could say if I is less than 3, don't say it, and if I is greater than length of characters minus 2, don't say it. So that would kind of be the opposite way you could do this from what I have it set up, but that's pretty much it. And so that is how you complete part 2 of lab 4.3 Guess Who.